I need to tell you something that's been keeping me up at night. And I'm not talking about some random conspiracy theory, I'm talking about documented facts, government responses, scientific observations that don't add up. On December 31st, 2025, while everyone was celebrating New Year's Eve, the Central Intelligence Agency dropped a bombshell that most people completely missed. They classified an object from another star system, not just any classification. We're talking about the kind of legal framework they use for nuclear weapons and military operations, the kind of secrecy that makes you wonder what exactly they're hiding up there in the darkness between stars. Welcome to the cosmic unknown. Today we're diving into the mystery of 3I Atlas, the third interstellar visitor to pass through our solar system, and the first one that the most powerful spy agency in the world decided was too dangerous for you to know about. Let me start with what we know for certain, because the facts alone are disturbing enough. 3I Atlas isn't the first visitor from another star system. Back in October 2017, we detected 1I Oumuamua, that weird cigar-shaped object that accelerated in ways gravity couldn't explain. Then in August 2019, we found 2I Borisov. That one looked more like a normal comet, so people relaxed a bit. But 3I Atlas? This one's different. This one made the CIA invoke national security protocols. Here's what gets me. These objects aren't just passing asteroids. They're on hyperbolic trajectories. That means they came from somewhere else in the galaxy. They weren't born here. They're visitors, travelers, and now one of them has become a state secret. When 3I Atlas was first spotted, astronomers called it a comet. Frozen remnants from another star system, standard cosmic debris. Nothing to worry about. But as the months went by and more data came in, things started getting weird. Really weird. And that's when the institutions that are supposed to tell us the truth started going silent. Let me walk you through the anomalies, because this is where the official story starts falling apart. First, there's the chemical composition. In December 2025, the Very Large Telescope in Chile pointed its instruments at 3I Atlas. They were doing spectroscopic analysis, basically breaking down the light to see what elements are present. And they found something that doesn't make sense. Atomic nickel. Now I know that doesn't sound dramatic, but stay with me. In normal comets, we expect water ice, carbon dioxide, maybe some organic molecules. When we do find nickel, it's usually locked up in minerals, but atomic nickel, individual nickel atoms floating free, that only happens when objects get super close to the sun and the heat tears apart molecular bonds. 3I Atlas wasn't anywhere near the sun when they detected this. So where's this atomic nickel coming from? Here's what makes this even stranger. Nickel is the foundation for high-performance aerospace alloys. In kilograms, hastelloy, waspalloy, these are the materials we use to build things that have to survive extreme temperatures and corrosive environments. Things like spacecraft, things designed to withstand the brutal conditions of space travel. I'm not saying 3I Atlas is a spacecraft, I'm just saying the chemistry doesn't match what we expect from a natural comet. And when something doesn't match expectations, you have to ask why. You have to ask what natural process could produce this signature. And more importantly, you have to ask why the agencies with the best data aren't answering these questions publicly. The second anomaly is even more bizarre. The James Webb Space Telescope measured the ratio of carbon dioxide to water in 3I Atlas. The number they got was 7.6. To understand why that matters, you need to know that comets from our solar system typically have ratios well below 1. Some might hit 2 if they formed in unusual conditions. 7.6 is 700% higher than normal. That's not a little variation. That's not, oh, this comet formed in a slightly different part of its home system. That's a fundamental difference in composition that requires explanation. When you see deviations this extreme, it suggests you're looking at something that formed under radically different conditions, or something that wasn't formed naturally at all. Now, to be fair, different star systems could have different chemistry. A star with more carbon than our sun might produce planetesimals with weird ice ratios. That's a valid scientific explanation. The universe is vast and diverse. We've only studied our own little corner in detail. But when you combine this with the nickel anomaly, you start seeing a pattern. Each individual piece might be explainable, but together they paint a picture that makes people uncomfortable. They paint a picture that suggests we might be dealing with something outside our previous experience. And then there's the trajectory problem. Objects in space follow predictable paths. Gravity pulls them. We can calculate where they'll be years in advance with incredible precision. It's basic orbital mechanics. We've been doing it for centuries. Newton gave us the equations. Einstein refined them. We know how this works. Except 3I Atlas isn't following the predicted path. It's making course corrections. Subtle ones. Small accelerations that can't be fully explained by the gravitational pull of known objects in our solar system. Some scientists say it's outgassing, like a comet acting as a tiny rocket. When ice sublimates into gas, it creates thrust. We've seen this before with other comets, but is that enough to explain what we're seeing? The magnitude of the corrections? The precision of the trajectory changes? And here's the part that really gets me. 3I Atlas is heading toward Jupiter. Not just generally in that direction, it's approaching Jupiter's hill sphere, the gravitational boundary where the giant planet dominates. The precision of this approach looks exactly like the gravity assist maneuvers our spacecraft use. When we send probes to the outer solar system, we use Jupiter's gravity as a slingshot. We aim for specific points in the planet's gravitational field to alter our trajectory and gain speed. It's a calculated maneuver that requires precise navigation. 3I Atlas appears to be doing the same thing. I can already hear the skeptics. It's just coincidence. Random objects can look like they're following planned trajectories. Sure, that's possible. Over billions of years, some natural objects will randomly follow paths that look intentional to us. The universe is old. Countless objects have passed through our solar system. Some of them, by pure chance, would have approached Jupiter in ways that resemble deliberate maneuvers. But when does coincidence become too much of a coincidence? Chemical anomalies, compositional anomalies, trajectory anomalies, each one explainable on its own. But all three together, that's when probability starts working against the natural explanation. That's when you have to consider alternatives. That's when institutions start getting nervous. That's when the CIA gets involved. Now we get to the part that keeps me up at night. The institutional response. Because this is where the story stops being about astronomy and starts being about intelligence operations. In late 2025, NASA's Maven spacecraft was perfectly positioned to observe 3I Atlas as it passed Mars. Maven has been orbiting Mars since 2014, studying the atmosphere, but it can also look at other targets when opportunities arise. And this was an opportunity we couldn't afford to miss. This was the best observation opportunity we were going to get. Maven was closer than any other instrument we had available. Its instruments were capable of detailed analysis. We should have gotten incredible data, high-resolution imagery, spectroscopic readings. Everything we needed to answer the questions about this object. And then Maven went dark. NASA says it was a technical malfunction, possibly related to solar activity. The spacecraft's telemetry just stopped. 1 minute it was functioning normally, sending back routine data from Mars orbit. The next it was silent. Communication ceased completely. Here's what bothers me about that explanation. Multiple spacecraft and ground stations constantly monitor solar activity. We have a whole network dedicated to watching the sun. Solar storms can damage electronics. We know this, that's why we monitor it so carefully. I've looked at the records from that period. There's no unusual solar flare activity that corresponds to when Maven failed. No major coronal mass ejections, no significant radiation events that would explain a sudden, catastrophic failure. Does that prove NASA is lying? No. Solar effects can be localized. The sun is a turbulent, chaotic ball of plasma. Maybe Maven got hit by something we didn't detect elsewhere. Maybe there was a focused burst that other monitoring systems missed. But the timing, the perfect timing of losing our best observation platform right when 3I Atlas was passing by. Right when we were positioned to answer critical questions about this object. That observation window is gone. Whatever Maven might have seen is either lost or locked away somewhere we can't access it. The data that could have resolved the mystery is unavailable. And that brings us to the CIA's response. On December 31, 2025, someone named John Greenewald filed a Freedom of Information Act request. Greenewald is known for this kind of work. He's been filing FOIA requests for years, trying to pry loose classified information on various topics. He asked the CIA for any documents or records related to 3I Atlas. The CIA's response came back with reference number F2026-00231. And that response is terrifying in its implications. When a government agency gets a FOIA request, they have options. They can provide the documents, full disclosure, transparency, they can provide redacted versions with sensitive information removed, black bars over the classified parts, they can state that no responsive documents exist, a simple denial. Or they can do what's called a Glomar response. The Glomar response is nuclear-level secrecy. It's named after a CIA ship called the Hughes Glomar Explorer that was involved in a covert operation during the Cold War. The ship was supposedly collecting minerals from the ocean floor. In reality, it was trying to recover a sunken Soviet submarine. When journalists asked about it, the CIA couldn't confirm or deny the operation existed because either answer would reveal classified information. That's where the Glomar response comes from. It means the agency can neither confirm nor deny that records exist because even acknowledging whether they have files would reveal classified information. It's a legal mechanism for maintaining absolute secrecy about topics so sensitive that even admitting interest would cause damage. The CIA used the Glomar response for 3I Atlas. Think about what that means. Really think about it. If this was just a space rock, they could say we have no relevant records. They could say, here's some routine scientific data we collected. They could release a few documents and be done with it. But they can't even admit whether they're interested in this object. The very fact of their interest is classified. The mere acknowledgement that the CIA has been monitoring or analyzing this interstellar visitor would, in their assessment, reveal information that must be protected. The legal basis they cited is Executive Order 13526, Section 3.6a. That's the framework for classifying national security information. The same legal structure used for nuclear secrets, for military battle plans, for intelligence operations against hostile nations. They're treating an astronomical object like it's a foreign adversary, like it's a threat to national security, like it's something that requires the same level of protection we give to our most sensitive military and intelligence assets. What could they possibly know about 3I Atlas that requires this level of secrecy? If it's just a comet with unusual chemistry, why invoke national security? There are no sources and methods to protect with a comet. You point a telescope, you share the data. That's how astronomy works. That's how science works. Open inquiry, peer review, shared knowledge. But the CIA's letter explicitly mentions protecting sources and methods. They cited the National Security Act of 1947 and the CIA Act of 1949. These aren't scientific regulations, these are espionage laws. Laws about protecting how we gather intelligence on threats to the United States. Laws about maintaining advantage over adversaries. What methods does the CIA have that require this protection? Do they have observation platforms we don't know about? Satellites designed to spy on military installations that they've quietly pointed at 3I Atlas? Are they protecting the capabilities of reconnaissance systems that the public doesn't know exist? If revealing images of this object would show our enemies what our spy technology can do, that would explain the classification. That would make sense from a national security perspective. You don't want to reveal your capabilities to adversaries, but there's another possibility, one that's even more disturbing, one that explains why they're using the Glomar response instead of just redacting sensitive portions of documents. What if the source of the information is the object itself? What if 3I Atlas has been transmitting? What if we've intercepted signals or data that prove this isn't a natural object? What if our instruments have detected patterns, structures, communications that indicate artificial origin? Then the Glomar response makes perfect sense, because confirming we have records about an artificial interstellar craft would change human civilization overnight. It would answer the question of whether we're alone in the universe. It would confirm that intelligent life exists beyond Earth. It would trigger social, political, and philosophical upheaval on a scale we've never experienced. The CIA's job isn't to advance science, their job is to manage threats and protect national interests. If they've concluded that 3I Atlas represents something unprecedented, something that could destabilize society if revealed prematurely, they would do exactly what they're doing now. Maintain silence, classify everything, use legal mechanisms to avoid confirming or denying, until they understand the full scope of what they're dealing with. By refusing to even acknowledge they have files on this visitor, they're telling us without words that 3i Atlas is considered a potential threat, or a potential asset in a silent arms race happening millions of miles above our heads, or evidence of something so profound that they believe society isn't ready to handle it. While the government maintains its silence, amateur astronomers are still looking up, and what they're seeing doesn't match the official, it's just a comet narrative. Multiple independent observers have noted that 3i Atlas's tail structure looks wrong. Normal comets have two types of tails. Dust tails consisting of particles pushed away from the comet by solar radiation pressure, ion tails formed when solar wind strips electrons from gas molecules, creating plasma that follows magnetic field lines. Both tail types point generally away from the sun. That's basic physics. Radiation pressure and solar wind flow outward from the sun. But observers are reporting collimated features in 3i Atlas's tail. Narrow streams that maintain coherence over significant distances. Focused beams of material that don't expand and diffuse the way normal cometary outgassing does. That's not how normal outgassing works. Gas from a comet should expand in all directions, it should diffuse and spread out. The tail should be broad and diffuse, not narrow and focused. These look more like jets, like directed thrust, like exhaust from a propulsion system. Now, I have to be honest, amateur observations have limitations. Atmospheric distortion can create artifacts. Light refraction through our atmosphere can make things appear that aren't really there. Processing errors can generate false features when you're working with faint objects. We can't just take these reports at face value without professional verification. But when multiple observers in different locations report similar anomalies, it deserves attention. When people using different telescopes, different cameras, different processing software, all see the same unusual features, you can't just dismiss it as coincidence or error. The problem is, we can't verify any of this with professional instruments. Because the institutions with the best equipment either lost their data when Maven went dark, or are actively refusing to share what they have, we're facing an information blackout. A deliberate restriction of data flow that prevents independent verification of the most important astronomical discovery in human history. NASA shows us grainy images and tells us everything is normal. Official press releases describe 3i Atlas as a typical interstellar comet. Nothing to worry about, just another piece of cosmic debris passing through. Meanwhile, the CIA is locking the doors and invoking the same legal protections they use for nuclear weapons programs and intelligence operations. They're treating this object with the same secrecy they reserve for our most sensitive national security matters. This creates an impossible situation for independent researchers. We can see enough to know something's wrong, but not enough to prove what's actually happening. We have fragments of data that suggest anomalies, but we're denied access to the comprehensive observations that would let us draw firm conclusions. And that's exactly how you maintain control of a narrative. Give people just enough information to satisfy curiosity, but withhold the critical data that would let them draw their own conclusions. Keep everyone guessing. Keep everyone dependent on official statements for information. Prevent independent verification. It's information warfare. And the battlefield is our understanding of what's happening in our own solar system. Let me put this in context. We've now detected 3 interstellar visitors, 3 objects from beyond our solar system that have passed through our cosmic neighborhood, and 2 of them have generated major scientific controversies that remain unresolved. Oumuamua accelerated in ways we couldn't fully explain. It showed non-gravitational acceleration that exceeded what outgassing models could account for. It had an extreme elongated shape, unlike anything in our solar system. Some estimates suggested it was 10 times longer than it was wide. It showed no visible coma or tail, despite passing close to the sun, where we'd expect any ice to sublimate. Some scientists proposed it might be artificial, a light sail from another civilization, a probe sent to explore our solar system. The controversy never fully resolved. We lost track of the object before we could gather enough data to answer the questions definitively. 2i Borisov was more conventional. It looked and acted like a comet. It had a visible coma and tail. Its composition was broadly consistent with solar system comets, though not identical. People relaxed. They said, see, interstellar objects can be normal. Oumuamua was probably just unusual, but still natural. Now 3i Atlas combines the weirdest aspects of both. It has outgassing like a comet, but the chemistry is wrong. It has trajectory anomalies like Oumuamua, but it's heading toward a specific gravitational target. It exhibits both natural and anomalous characteristics simultaneously. 2 out of 3 interstellar objects have been deeply anomalous. That's a disturbing pattern. Either interstellar space is fundamentally different than we thought, producing objects with bizarre properties as a matter of course. Different stellar environments create planetesimals and comets that don't match our expectations based on solar system objects. Or we're seeing something else. Something that challenges our assumptions about what exists out there in the darkness between stars. Something that suggests intelligence and technology operating on scales we're only beginning to comprehend. Here's what makes this whole situation feel like a thriller instead of a documentary. The scientific method requires transparency. You make observations. You share data. Other researchers verify your findings. They attempt to replicate your results. They challenge your conclusions. Through this process of open inquiry and peer review, we build knowledge collectively, we advance understanding as a species. But that process breaks down when critical data is classified, when observations are withheld, when verification is prevented. We can't verify what we can't see. We can't analyze what's withheld. We're left working with fragments while someone else holds the complete picture. We're forced to speculate based on incomplete information while the institutions with comprehensive data maintain silence. The CIA knows something we don't. That's clear from their response. The Glomar invocation isn't used casually. It's a specific legal mechanism reserved for matters of extreme sensitivity. The question is what they know and why they've decided we can't handle the truth. Maybe the classification is about protecting observation methods. Maybe they're using secret satellites and don't want to reveal their capabilities. Maybe they've repurposed spy satellites designed to monitor foreign military installations and they don't want adversaries to know how good those systems are. Maybe there are geopolitical dimensions. Other nations are watching 3i Atlas too. Russia has telescopes. China has telescopes. European agencies are observing. Maybe this is about maintaining strategic advantage, about controlling the narrative, about being the first to understand and potentially exploit whatever this object represents. Or maybe they've concluded something about this object that they believe would cause panic, mass hysteria, social disruption. Maybe they've detected something that confirms artificial origin and they're trying to figure out how to break that news to a world that isn't prepared for it. The Glomar response doesn't tell us which scenario is correct. It just tells us that someone with access to the full picture has decided that acknowledging their interest would harm national security. Think about the implications of that for a moment. An object from another star system is being treated as classified information by a spy agency. Not by NASA, not by scientific institutions, not by universities or research centers, by intelligence operatives whose job is tracking threats to the United States, by people trained in espionage and counterintelligence, by an organization created to protect national security through information control. What does that tell you about how they're categorizing this visitor? As 3i Atlas continues toward Jupiter, questions multiply while answers remain locked in classified vaults. The chemical signatures don't match known comets. The trajectory suggests intentional maneuvering. Our best observation platform mysteriously failed at the critical moment. And the CIA has built a legal fortress around whatever information they possess. Each element has potential conventional explanations. Maybe the chemistry reflects exotic stellar environments we haven't encountered before. Maybe the trajectory is elaborate coincidence enabled by billions of years of cosmic billiards. Maybe Maven's failure was genuinely bad timing, unrelated to 3i Atlas. Maybe the classification protects methods rather than conclusions about the object itself. But when you step back and look at the whole picture, it's hard to ignore the pattern. Something unusual is happening, and the institutions we trust to tell us the truth are choosing silence instead. They're choosing legal mechanisms designed for the most sensitive intelligence operations instead of scientific transparency. I've spent enough time studying these topics to know that the universe constantly surprises us. What seems impossible often turns out to be natural phenomena we didn't understand yet. What looks artificial sometimes has mundane explanations once we gather more data. Pulsars seemed like alien signals until we figured out they were rotating neutron stars. The first pulsar discovered was even nicknamed LGM-1. little green men. Because the regular radio pulses looked like deliberate transmissions, but they weren't. They were natural. Gamma-ray bursts were mysteries for decades before we understood their origins in stellar explosions and neutron star mergers. They seemed impossible based on our understanding of physics. But we were wrong about our understanding. Not wrong about the observations. Maybe 3I Atlas is like that. Maybe it's expanding our understanding of what natural objects can be. Maybe interstellar comets are genuinely different from solar system comets in ways that produce all these anomalies through completely natural processes. Or maybe it's something else entirely. I can't tell you which is correct because I don't have access to the full data. Nobody in the public sphere does. That's the whole problem. That's why I'm making this video, because the restriction of information is itself telling. What I can tell you is that this object deserves our attention. It deserves continued observation by everyone who has the capability. It deserves continued analysis of whatever public data we can access, and it deserves pressure for transparency from institutions that are hiding information. The truth, whatever it is worth pursuing. That's what science is for. That's why we build telescopes and send probes into space, to answer questions about our place in the universe. But right now, we're living in a reality where the most important astronomical discovery in recent history is being controlled by legal departments and intelligence agencies rather than scientists. Where questions about cosmic visitors are answered by lawyers citing espionage statutes instead of astronomers sharing observations. We're told to trust that classification is necessary, that national security requires secrecy, that we're better off not knowing, that the people with access to complete information are making the right decisions about what the public should and shouldn't be told. Maybe that's true. Maybe there are legitimate reasons for the information blackout. Maybe they're protecting us from something we're not ready to handle. Maybe they're protecting capabilities that would be compromised by disclosure. Maybe they're working to understand the situation before causing unnecessary alarm. Or maybe we're being kept in the dark because the truth would change too much too fast. Because confirming that we're not alone in the universe would destabilize existing power structures, because the implications of artificial interstellar visitors are too profound for controlled release. 3I Atlas is out there right now, drifting through our solar system on its way to Jupiter. Amateur astronomers are tracking it with whatever equipment they have. Professional researchers are analyzing what limited data they can access through public channels. And somewhere in classified databases maintained by intelligence agencies, the complete picture exists. The question is whether we'll ever get to see it, or whether this visitor from the stars will remain locked behind national security classifications, another mystery the public isn't trusted to understand. Another truth deemed too dangerous for widespread knowledge. I think we deserve better than that. I think we deserve to know who or what is visiting our cosmic neighborhood. I think we have a right to understand what's happening in our own solar system. This isn't some foreign military installation. This isn't classified weapons development. This is an object passing through space that happens to be visible from Earth, but the universe and the government don't care what I think is fair. So we're left watching from a distance, piecing together fragments, trying to understand something that powerful institutions have decided we shouldn't know about. We're left to wonder whether the official silence is protecting us or controlling us. What do you think is really going on with 3I Atlas? Is this just extreme caution from intelligence agencies protecting observation capabilities? Or is there something out there that would change everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe? Are we looking at a natural object with unusual properties? Or are we witnessing the first confirmed artificial visitor from another star system? Is the CIA protecting methods or conclusions? Are they hiding how they observe or what they observed? Drop your theories in the comments. These conversations keep the search for truth alive, even when official channels go silent. Even when institutions designed to inform us choose secrecy instead. This is how we resist information control. By talking to each other, by sharing observations, by refusing to accept silence as an answer. If you want to stay on the edge of these cosmic mysteries with us, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. It helps us continue investigating the questions they don't want us asking. It helps us reach more people who deserve to know what's happening above their heads. And if you really want to support our journey into the unknown, consider becoming a member. Every bit helps us keep digging into the mysteries they're trying to keep classified, helps us maintain independence from institutional control. helps us continue asking uncomfortable questions about uncomfortable subjects. Until next time, keep looking up. Keep questioning. Keep demanding transparency from institutions that claim to serve the public interest while hiding information the public deserves to access. The truth is out there, even if it's currently protected by the National Security Act of 1947, even if it's locked in classified vaults behind legal frameworks designed for Cold War espionage, even if powerful agencies have decided we're not ready to know. The truth exists, and eventually, one way or another, it will come out. It always does. The only question is whether they'll tell us or whether we'll figure it out on our own.